Good morning and welcome to another Harry Bowman live stream. It's Tuesday, the 18th of September at exactly 10:30 a.m. and I have hobbled down to my lounge room where I've got a magnificent view across Currumbin Valley, across all the green. And if you're going to recuperate from a motorbike accident, this is the place to be, I guess. So thank you for those that are coming online and joining. And I just thought I'd do this live stream for a topic that I've seen come up many, many times. And it's something that pertains to all of us. It's something that's very, very close to our heart. Thank you, Lisa, Leanne, Samantha, and Anne for joining me. The title is, Why Are We So Afraid to Open Up to Love? When we look, I'll get straight into it. When we look at our deepest desire, when we are honest enough with ourselves to really admit to ourselves what we deep down would really like, what all of us want is to feel a beautiful sense of unconditional love. And this is actually one of the reasons why we develop such a strong attachment to our companion animals, because in this world, they tend to love us in a way that seems close to being unconditional. Our companion animals don't tend to judge us, or usually they don't tend to give us a bad time, unless you've got a cat. And Terry and Jeffrey and Karen, thank you for joining me. Our animals tend to be there for us. They tend to ask very little and give so much. So we tend to have a very, very strong connection with our companion animals. And to some extent, this seems to fulfill this deep, heartfelt desire that we have to love and be loved. But if you're really honest with yourself, love you too, Terry. If you're really honest, and Kayla, thank you for watching. If we're really honest with ourselves, we will not only admit that our deepest desire is to feel complete fulfillment here in our heart. I wonder if you can read that. But it's also the thing that scares us the most, is to open up to the possibility of love. So why is it that we are so afraid to open up to it? So let's have a little discussion. And I want to share some of my observations that I've discovered over decades of talking to people and sort of counseling them in an amateur way, being friends to loved ones, family members, even strangers, just being there for people, listening to their stories, listening to what they feel very, very strongly within themselves. Let me just scroll down so I can see. Jeannie says hello, and David says Jai. So let's just go back to the basic thing, because I was recently called a reductionist, and I haven't even looked up the term, but I assume that it means someone that simplifies things. And if that's a complaint against me, then I'm going to absorb that very strongly, because the reasons for our motivations are always at the core level the most simple thing possible, that we all want love. That is what we are made of. That is what we are seeking. So it becomes a case of, what if that is what we are seeking, why are we so afraid to open up to it? When you look around in the world, why do you see so many people that have put up barriers of protection around themselves, that are the best actors that we see are actually our friends around us, that are so incredibly good at performing this two versions of themselves, the self that they want to show to the world, and then the self that behind closed doors is very lonely and very afraid to show who they are for for fear of people finding out that they are actually feeling quite vulnerable and quite lonely. But why is it? Why is it if it's such a strong force, if it's the fabric of the universe, if love is the fabric of the universe, and if it's such a strong force, if it's what our essence is to our deepest level in our heart, why are we so afraid? Why are we so afraid to step forward and embrace love? There's so many people so afraid, and in different degrees we will see that of the way that people act in their lives. We will see people either very, very outwardly saying that, you know, they're fine on their own, and the only person they can trust and rely on is themselves, or more subtle variations of that, like when somebody, for instance, ends up with a companion animal and puts all their love towards it. The fear, the greatest desire we have, of course, is love, and the greatest fear we have is rejection, or not having that love. It is our greatest fear, and it is so strong a fear. We are so sensitive to being hurt. Our hearts are so soft, and we are so afraid of opening up to love, and then finding that what we've opened up to has not been what we thought it would be, and that we feel hurt because of the actions of another. It's not that, and I have to be clear on this, it's not that somebody hurt us, it's that we feel hurt. We don't want to feel that. Our greatest fear is that we do not want to feel hurt. We don't want to feel the pain, the emotional pain of hurt. We would rather build a wall around our heart and around our feelings. We would rather build a wall and pretend to the world that we are okay. You know, I'm okay. I don't need anyone. I'm okay. Just look on Facebook today. You will see posts. Just scroll through your newsfeed. I mean, I hadn't noticed any today, but it's every day. There are posts from people like, yep, I'm fine on my own, all the rest. That's rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. That is a justification. Terry says, I think that people have different levels of love. They do, Terry. I'm talking about the deepest core level here. But yes, there are different names for different types of love. I think there's the five. I think that's 5 fingers. the five different types of love. But I'm not going into that side. So what I'm talking about here is keeping it very, very, very simple. Keeping it to the fact that our prime motivation, and I've spoken about this a few times before, our prime motivation in our life is love, and yet it's also the thing that we run from. So I bring up the question. Terry's laughing that one. So I bring up the question: are we actually running from love when we feel hurt by the actions of another, and we say to ourselves on some level of our conscious or subconscious, we say to ourselves, I never want to feel that emotional pain again. We may not verbalize it. We may not be aware that we've set a program inside ourselves that says, I never want to feel that hurt again. But we do, and it can happen at a very young age. We can be in a position where we feel a sense of hurt from the actions of another, and we think, I'm going to protect myself from that. And we may not even be aware that we're doing it. We just change our behavior so that we can live in a way where we get by. But the way that most of us in the world get by, hey Jeffrey, the way that most of us in the world get by is we live our life in a way that's like we're wearing a glove all the time, and we can't feel life through this glove. We can sort of feel, you know, I'm holding onto this cup with the glove on. Okay, I'm aware I'm holding onto the cup, but I'm not really feeling, say, the texture of the handle of that. You know, the analogy is fairly simple analogy. So this is how. So we're protecting ourselves. The glove is a form of protection. So that's what we do with our heart. Our heart is so fragile. It is so soft. It is so sensitive. It is so easily able to feel strong emotion, both positive and negative, that we are so protective of it that we would rather wear like a glove over our heart and not feel things. When we live in a society with a whole heap of people doing the same thing like this, we end up living in what I term a numb society. And we see this in the conversations that we have with people, with the way that people react and respond to our questions. We can see that we're just sort of trying to feel through the glove, but we can't quite feel it. We're trying to get some sense of gratification, and it's just not reaching us because we ourselves put up a barrier. And so we are preventing ourselves from feeling the love that we so desperately need to feel. So that is the problem, but it's also the solution, because we ourselves created this barrier as a form of self-protection. The reason that we can do this is because we can do it from a lack of faith, and we can do it from a lack of wisdom, a lack of understanding of our true identity, a lack of understanding of why things are happening in the world the way they do and why people act the way they do. I've spoken about this before in relation to understanding why people can be violent and why people can be angry. And the same principle applies here, that we need to separate the person, the core beauty of the person, their heart, their perfect heart, separate that from the actions of the person that we feel that hurt us. So we need to understand that at the core, we are all perfect. We are perfect souls, and we were created in a state of perfection. But we go down little rabbit holes. We as we grow up, we follow little mysteries of life that take us in wrong directions, and we end up acting in ways that can be perceived by others as hurtful, because we end up being selfish. We end up chasing shadows and thinking that we know what is best for us in a very self-centered way. And this is self-destructive, and it's also outwardly destructive, because it's affecting the connections that we have with others, our relationships with others, and a whole interaction in the world. And there's a ripple effect, so it goes right out in the world. And what we end up with is a society where we're afraid to open up to others, because the society has so much aggression and so much fear in it, because multiplied by each individual person, multiplying this out, throwing this out into society, this fear of opening up. It's important. One thing that can really help, and one thing that's come to my mind, is it's really important to understand that what we open up to in the first place is not love in any case. It's a misunderstanding from us of what love is, and therefore there is, I guess you could say, a price to pay, because we've made a mistake. We've opened up to an illusion of love, and that illusion of love has also proven to be an illusion somewhere down the line when we feel let down, when that illusion of love has shown its true colors. Well said, Terry. A society that is fake will breed fake people. Let me reverse that, Terry, that fake people breed a fake society. So it sounds a little bit harsh to say fake people. It's actually more a case of people with fake actions, beautiful people, but with fake actions, and multiplying that out to become a society that is reflecting that. Karen says that makes sense. Yeah. So the really important thing here is that rather than build a wall around our heart so that we cannot feel life fully, so that we cannot feel the love that we really need in order to feel complete, the wise thing is to understand that where we were looking in the first place was the wrong place to look. We were bound to be disappointed if our expectations, I'll use that term, our expectations of that word were misdirected. We are bound to be disappointed if we put our expectations onto something that is temporary, someone that is temporary, a situation that is temporary, a person that does not have the power to fulfill the deepest desire that we have in our heart. We fall for it all the time. I've done it so many times, I couldn't even count the number of times I've done it in my life. And I've seen it countless times with so many people that I've crossed paths with, always thinking that this next person is the person that's going to solve their problems, that's going to be there for them. But logically, how is that possible? We all are going to die at some stage. We all make mistakes. We made the mistake of thinking somebody else was going to be there for us. So that in itself is a mistake. So, and we are putting an immense amount of pressure onto someone else by saying, I need you to be there for me. You know, I need you to complete me. That's a huge weight for anyone to carry when the person is not actually capable of carrying that weight. By the way, green smoothie, whew, it's good stuff. So it is, oh, hope I don't have a green lip. So what I'm asking you to do, without keeping this live stream too long, is to look deeper. Look deeper at what actually really fulfills the deepest desire in our heart. Look deeper on a spiritual level, because the nature of things is that no matter how much you try to squeeze a rock, you're not going to get the sweetness out of it. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to squeeze sweetness out of a rock, and it's not its nature to actually have sweetness there. So we have to understand that we need to look in the right place. We need to actually look deeper. We need to meditate and go deeper within so that we can be on a spiritual level when we're looking for this love. The choice is up to you. I only present this as an idea for you to think about, to help you with something that we all struggle with. I can only present things that I've discovered myself through a lot of emotional pain that I've been through countless times over many decades. So, and I hope that I can therefore, put that forward to you and say that for me and for others that I've seen that have gone through similar things, the thing that has worked is to understand to rather than looking for love in all the wrong places, we need to look for love on a spiritual level. We need to actually understand that we cannot fulfill a spiritual craving with material things. It's everything in this world, in the material world, is temporary, but we are eternal spirit souls. So we're trying to create something eternal or permanent out of a temporary world, and it just doesn't work. There's no logic to it, and the proof is we end up feeling hurt again. And Barbara says so true. So that's the main point I wanted to get across, is that we are afraid to open up to love because none of us want to feel hurt. But if we don't want to feel hurt, we have to be wise enough to not open up, to not put on the highest level temporary conditions or temporary situations, which would be a connection with a person that doesn't have the power to fulfill us and doesn't have the and is only here on the planet for a temporary period of time in the same way that we are. We need to be wise enough. I ask you to be wise enough to go deeper within. David says love means between persons, even spiritual. Yes, definitely, Dave. I should make it clear that, and Terry says Gandhi. Gandhi is definitely a very amazing inspiration from a young age for me. I need to make it clear, Dave, that the genuine love between people comes when we develop a spiritual love. So then we develop an empathy and a compassion and an understanding of what others are going through and the hurt that they can feel and how much they need to feel love. Then we have a genuine understanding of it because we feel it we feel what they're going through. And I hope I'm explaining that right. So it's a natural thing to want to love others. And of course, it comes very, very naturally, you know, when parents have a child, and it's just naturally there. But to have it on a deep, unconditional level, we need to have a spiritual foundation of love. And with that spiritual foundation of love, our empathy and our understanding for others is greatly enhanced, and it comes from a deeper level. So I hope that makes sense. So consider looking on a deeper spiritual level for what we are all seeking for, and because eternal love actually it's impossible for eternal love to let us down. It's impossible for eternal love to hurt us. Eternal love is perfect, and so we do not need to be afraid of eternal love. That is actually the love that we can embrace, and we can find a fulfillment in our heart. So thank you very much for watching this live stream, and remember to live vegan and save lives. And I very much hope that you can find the spiritual connection that will fulfill the spiritual craving that we all have inside. So have a great day, and until next time, ahimsa.